Hello, hello. Welcome back to What's Working Now. Today we are talking with an incredible product designer, Roberto Inderbitzen. Roberto is in Switzerland and we come from a similar design background. I'm super excited to talk to him because he has a very unique perspective. One of the things that you do as a product designer is you're looking at the interaction between objects and people. And what happens at the intersection is an experience. And Robert is really intentionally designing for that beautiful, meaningful experience. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, for reference, you have a design agency, which is called Reframe Design. You also have a podcast, Conversations with Roberto. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And so I want to take a second and kind of dive into seeing the world through your eyes. So tell us the story of an experience that has radically formed and shaped how you view the world today.
I would say the experience goes to sitting in a cafe and thinking what I want to do. I always wanted to do design, create my own design studio or design agency or everything that has to do with design and create something new. And the experience that led to to change and to call it reframe is I was sitting in a cafe and I was like thinking, how can I change the way I look at things? How can I change the way we design our products? And then I was talking the whole time with myself in German and in Spanish. And then it's like, how about changing it to a different language? And then I started thinking in English. And then I was reading an article, and then it came to me like, okay, let's call it reframe. And the idea is
Mhm.
exactly that. It's like, how can I change the experience? How can I change the designs in a way that I'm going to enhance the quality of the product? I didn't think about it more about the experience, but it was more about the quality of the product and to make it more user centric in a way to design exactly for one person. And that evolved later into think about resource and not just designing for one person and to make it a limited edition of 49 pieces, but to think about to a wider range, let's say to to hundreds or thousands of people.
Mhm.
And I guess to
Yeah.
sit in a cafe, that's what changed the experience. Like I was surrounded by something new.
Mm. That's cool to hear how it was weaving through all of the different languages that you speak too, and the questions that you're asking yourself. As a designer, when you're designing an object that then is potentially getting mass produced, there's some responsibility there, and not everybody feels that responsibility or even kind of looks far enough ahead to acknowledge that there's a responsibility there, and yet you do. Tell me some of the questions that you're asking yourself as you are creating an object.
Right. So I just like to bombard the bombard the what's it called the director or the one person giving me the brief with
Mhm.
questions. And one question that I really like to ask is just why, and just wait to the response of why do we need to design this? Do we really need to design a new product to make it pretty, or is there more behind it?
Mhm.
Then I think that's the main question that I like to ask to dig deeper into the topic. Also, how do we want to design it? Who is it going to be the customer or the end user in this case? And who is involved with it? Because sometimes the product is a simple product, and then if it's really the big focus on the end consumer. And then there are some other products that are produced also on how to manufacture them, on also how to facilitate the handling with it. So also have the consideration of the people actually building the machine or the product to not just make a pretty design, but also design that you can actually fix it and fix it in a simple way. So it's a lot of questions, but I think the most important is to actually start with the why question. Why do we do that, and why do you want to do that?
Yeah. What you're doing is you're zooming out and you're looking at the holistic kind of purpose and reason and meaning and even just the process of the product. Too often we hop into a project, a product, making all kinds of assumptions, and you are setting down any assumptions, and you're showing up curious with your customer, with your client, and you're asking questions maybe they haven't even asked themselves. And in that process, you're in a journey of discovery with your client to really understand the purpose behind, like,
Right.
what is it we're trying to do? You've come to me maybe with an initial idea and concept, which I bet you get a lot, and
Mhm.
you have the courage to ask some
Mhm.
questions that maybe are questioning the fact that they're even wanting to create a product. Do we even need this? And
Right.
does it feel like it takes courage to ask those kind of questions? Is it just kind of second nature for you? What's kind of going through your mind? What's your greater goal and objective that has those questions probably naturally popping up in your mind?
I think it, it is courage in a way, and it wasn't easy to do that. I mean, when I
Mm,
started, I was like more than just the order taker and just, okay, so what do you want to do? Let's do that. And with years of experience and building on something, on building my reputation and also building the courage to stand in front of companies or executives of large companies and ask them, who are you? Tell me more about you. And then just listening active what they do and why do they exist. Then I think I got more the confidence into building the products. And a big shift that happened is when we had a daughter, and the purpose started to be more focused on the future and building something that's more sustainable or resourceful. So I kind of started to
mhm,
build the daughter's test by myself to myself to ask myself if my daughter's going to be, or when she's 13 and she's going to look back and ask me, so dad, what do you do? Or what have you done? And if I would say I've done something or more crap in this world, I don't think I would be very proud of to look at her. And she's like, I can imagine she's gonna be like, well, that's not really nice out of you, and you're not really contributing to the world. But if I say, okay,
mhm,
I changed in a way to make better products that are longer in the cycle or easier to recycle if it's possible to just take it to the next level. I think that's something that shifted. And that also gives me the courage to move forward and to stick to those questions, even if
mhm.
sometimes I'm sure they are very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Roberto, I love what you're saying. What I'm hearing you say is you have to, while you have a client customer who's hiring you to do a specific project, at the same time, you need to stay in integrity with self. And I have a question about that. And this is something that I faced a lot in business is as you do business and you partner with people, um, you come to find out that not everybody operates from this place of integrity. And a lot of times, the people who quote are winning are people who are just stepping on everybody else and fighting to get to the top at the expense of everybody else. And they don't operate with integrity. And, there was this moment when I just felt sadness for all the people who want and need and insist on integrity. And my question to you is how does somebody, you know, people who are listening to this, I know integrity matters to them too. How do you stay in integrity and win at this game of business?
Hmm. I think the part of staying with yourself, true to yourself, is to know where you want to go, what you want to build, or what you want to create. In this case, about the winning part, there is no guarantee of winning. I think it's, I mean, not guaranteed that I'm going to win at the end, but I'm going to do everything possible to win. And winning is, I think, if it's for everybody else, it's different to say what winning is for them or what success is for them. But for me, to have a north star to say, okay, I want to create experiences and products that actually mean something and matters to somebody or matter
Mhm.
to hundreds or thousands of people, and also to my daughter and to myself. I think that gives me, or my partner as well, to give me a direction, and that's what makes me to stay with my values, and to create products that are incongruent with the values that I have, like having a clear purpose, embody innovation, that need to have a great performance, and to have an outstanding quality and have fun as well.
I love this. So, what I'm hearing you say is you need to know where you want to go. We're not necessarily all trying to get to the same place. And for you, you have decided, you didn't use that word, but I think that's so key. In order for something to be meaningful or purposeful to us, we have to decide what we want. We have to decide what is going to be meaningful. And you've made those decisions. And part of it is looking into the eyes of your daughter and asking yourself, who do I want her to see her father being? And how do I want her to kind of view me and the world? And integrity is a big part of that for you, which is really
Right,
beautiful and cool.
right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds cheesy, and I always looked at people as like, "Oh yeah, you have a kid, and now the world changes for you," and blah blah blah. And it is cheesy, and I'm totally okay with that. And I was just talking with Sabrina, my partner. She's like, now telling her, it's like, you know what? When you have a kid, what it can do to you is like it just your ego just dissolves, like the bad habits of the ego that really like hold you back, or what do people think about it, me, and it just kind of dissolves. And
Mhm,
it's a beautiful thing. Also, that's why it's easier maybe to talk to clients on a different level
mhm.
because there's no ego.
What happens when you have a client who's hired you or considering hiring you, and you can see that there's maybe a misalignment on values? What do you do in that situation? Is it okay to work for somebody who you don't necessarily have the same values?
It's difficult path. If you, I mean, you need to put money on the table as well, like food on the table as well. But I think if it really goes against your values, then you should really consider if you really want to do it. Because you do it once, then you do it twice, and then you do it three times, and then you are into it.
Mhm,
And if you really want to create something that's meaningful to you, I think just decline. Or in the other cases, like, can you, with your knowledge, make it so it is better? Like pivot that brief, for example, or ask different questions that actually you can pivot it in a way that it's maybe resourceful or it is better. But if it's
mhm.
completely disaligned, I don't think that's going to make you happy at the end.
Yeah,
And it's the product that's going to be crap as well. So it doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
But also consider the possibility somebody else is going to do it.
yeah,
And I struggle with that question as well. It's like, if I
sure.
see I could do something great with that brief or with this idea, and I know somebody else is going to do it and just do it because of the sake of doing it, and it's going to be crap, then I kind of have the responsibility to make everything possible to pivot it in a way that's going to be great.
Mhm,
But if it's completely misaligned, I don't think it's worth it.
mhm. Can you tell us I'm really curious about your creative process. You've talked about the questions and really getting to understand your client and customer, probably also similarly getting to know the end user of products. Can you share a specific example of a product that you helped to design and how you worked to have it solve the problem it needed to solve?
Hmm. Well, there are products that are now in the pipeline that obviously I'm not really allowed to talk about it. But like
Sure.
in the past, there were some products that we had a chance to design a product, and the brief was simple: just design something. So the idea was, okay, I designed something, and then we had a brief. It's a machine. It's a cleaning machine, and it's going to be a combination of two machines. So we're going to already combine two machines to one, which is also going to improve the resources we're going to use. And the idea behind that was like, how can we make a bigger impact on that? How can we make an impact for the company as well? So I question myself that how is the experience going to be? What's the experience I want to create with with that object? And it came to me, it's like we need to build a language to it. We need to build a
Mm,
language that works with the company, that's going to propel it to the next future, and also showcase them. It's going to be modern, and the next on the future projects and future products are going to align with the mission of the company. So I came up with a lot of questions and the strategy, and I presented that to the client, and it made sense to them to design a product that it's not just, I call it pretty, but also has some language that is going to showcase their mission of them, or
mhm.
their
Yeah.
purpose.
Mhm.
And we designed that the product turned out to be great. They loved it. And now the future products that have the same language, and we are able to keep on working with them, or still working with them. And
Mm.
the language that we chose at that time, it's still relevant, and it's almost 10 years now,
Wow.
and it's evolving. So the product that's coming out soon as well, it's gonna have some hints of that language, just a bit further, not just products that are all over the place because they look pretty. So it's an evolution of the brand, and that gives it consistency. And at the end, also for the client looking at it, it's like, okay, they can recognize the brand, and hopefully it makes the brand more successful.
You have spoken about so many elements that are really resonating with me, like a North Star and the mission. When you take into consideration as a designer the mission of a company and, formulate language around that mission and infuse it into the product, what is the end result for the end consumer? Like what happens for them as they use a product that has that sort of intention and thoughtfulness designed and engineered into the
Mhm.
experience?
I think as an end consumer, you feel it's well thought through. It feels right. It feels that it matters, and that you were actually taken serious as a consumer. And
Mm,
if you feel like, or if you feel taken serious, then you would look at the brand and say, okay, you know what? I felt hurt, or I felt listened to, and I experienced that. And if you also do it, not just nice product, but also the experience of it, and it's very subtle, I think you feel that. And what also does is you keep the brand alive. You love the brand, and you don't just toss the product into landfill. You just
yeah.
keep it, and it stays longer with you.
You used a word quite a bit there in your description that I think is kind of the key to it, which is it feels right. It feels like they matter, like the intention matters. They felt heard. And I think that's a huge part of what makes somebody like you successful is as human beings. Yes, we have a brain and use logic and need logical solutions. But when the solution has a feeling, an emotional component,
Hmm.
it gives you, it turns it into a human experience.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it goes from being just maybe something that you don't have any feeling towards. It's like, take it or leave
Right.
it. But if we can think ahead and help somebody feel something, one, that's a huge competitive
Hmm.
advantage, first of all. But it goes back to that piece that you started at, which was like purpose and meaning. It's so much more meaningful
Hmm.
when as a user, as a consumer, you feel something with that product.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah. So we're talking about this feeling component, and most of our audience are entrepreneurs, business people, people who frequently will lead with logic and
Hmm.
their mind and thinking. And I think one of the things that really sets you as a designer apart is you understand those components, but then you also understand the importance of that feeling component.
Hmm.
What are some ways in which you infuse feeling, emotion, more of those sense type things into
Right.
design, into a product.
Mhm. Hmm. I mean, industrial design is very, I don't call it very touchy and feelings and all that stuff, but that's what it actually comes out of it. Industrial,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
that's what it comes out. I mean, when everything I put in, it's very logical.
Hmm.
Oh, I try to be logical because I need also to sell it to people that are very logical.
Hmm.
And I think how I take it, how I can make it more feeling, way that there's more feeling, is by really trying to experience a product itself.
Hmm.
And if I experience it and by making prototypes and really like submerging into the product by designing it using virtual reality, for example, then I think everything that comes out of or everything that is output is feeling. But everything that goes in is very logical. It's very tangible. It should make sense because I'm a
Yeah.
designer, not an artist.
Yeah. I'm going to say, but in a way, that's what, in my perspective, that is what a designer is it understands both of those worlds and knows how to bring them together. At the end of the day, the product has to solve the problem it needs to solve. And
Absolutely.
if you can help somebody experience something, the thoughtfulness, the intention, and
Mhm.
the feeling heard component of that. So, can you solve the logical problem and help somebody to feel something? I mean, like,
Mhm.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Why would we not also have that component as
Right.
well?
Right.
And that's why you ask the questions that you ask in the very beginning. You're also trying to discover those components, the purpose
Mhm.
and the meaning behind all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and I think it's very important to understand technology in this part. How can we design it? How is technology? Where is technology actually going? How can you use it to enhance the experience by also understanding the human behavior? Because that's a huge component is to understand the human behavior to create products that are actually meaningful or easy to
And
understand.
I I want you to expand on that because, manufacturing has kind of gone through multiple eras, and we've reached this level of mass production of, I'm going to say, fairly meaningless, cheap products. And so tell me a little bit about this concept of circular design and how that intersects with AI and the technologies that are coming out. Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. If you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.katierichardson.com/case study. And the cool thing is, we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
I'm per se not really an expert in circular because it goes so deep. But I would say I'm an expert in being thoughtful of using resources and thinking how the product is going to work. And there is this concept of a product not being just for one lifetime, but different lifetimes in a way that not lifetime for us, but also from the perspective of the object. And it's an interesting thought to create something that maybe it's crappy in this world or where in the first layer of using it, let's say an iron to iron something, it's okay, but maybe you can change some things or just add some stuff on it, and then you can use it for something else.
Mm.
I don't know, just some ideas like maybe for a door stopper. I don't know, but so it has different levels of usage, and that
Mhm.
makes it stay longer in the circle
Mm.
and not just a very linear. producing and just toss them in the way. And I think what we're experiencing now is people are starting to be more conscious of the products they're using, the brands they are promoting those products. And by designing in a way that we can use those products, disattach those products, or think more on the manufacturing part, like how can we reduce those parts to make them more longer in the, how can we say it, to stay longer in the cycle, or can we later take them apart and use for something new? I think that's a way we can think about designing and using products and not just welding them together and that's it. And it's fixed.
Hmm.
And AI in this case, I think it's going to help because there's going to be a lot of data going to be produced. How is going to be the usage or the products? Maybe they need a different material. And in my opinion, AI is it's great in that case that we can use a lot of data and ask some questions about that material, and it's going to spit out very quick solutions for that. Let's say
Hmm.
um, in a case of a hand controller for a game, maybe there's a different kind of material we can use that plastic is recyclable, like really recyclable, and we can do something with that. We can later on do some glasses for kids in rural areas. And by asking AI what's the best plastic we can use for those things,
Mm.
we can actually accelerate the process.
I love it.
So that's it. Just some ideas that just came out of my mind. I don't know. I guess there's
Well,
so much more we could do.
well, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm observing about you is you let go of assumptions. You're very open and curious, and you utilize that openness and curiosity to ask questions. Like you have like I said in the beginning, you're kind of bold and have the audacity to ask questions that maybe nobody else is willing to ask. But because you ask those questions, it kind of leads you in a more efficient,
Mhm,
productive, fruitful direction. And I think that's one
mhm,
of the kind of gifts and talents that
mhm.
you have. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned how you have a podcast, and that's interesting. How did you come to the decision to create a podcast, and what's the purpose behind it for you as an industrial designer?
I'm a very curious person, like very curious. But it took a long time to actually move what's it called? Pull the trigger to do a podcast. I remember
Mm.
Sabrina telling me that forever. I don't know, 5 years when was nobody talking about podcasts. So like just a few. And she was telling me, you should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. It never happened. She bought me a microphone. And I was like, no, well. And suddenly I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. And I started asking friends if I can interview them. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
Mm.
the part of listening and being curious to listen to their story because I believe everybody has a great story we can learn from. And then I started to put all yeah, everything together. It's like I'm curious. I want to learn more about design. I want to learn how we create better experiences and products. And what better way to do that than to ask experts and icons in their industry? And so I started to build on that podcast, and I'm still loving it. And gives me the reason to reach out to people to learn from them, but also to share their knowledge in a way that is genuine and it's thoughtful and it's unfiltered because as you mentioned it's called conversations with Roberto and it's not very interviewy but it's more a fluid conversation
Mm.
and also it fits well with reframe which is look at from a different angle and just gives me the opportunity to share that with my audience and people that may want to change.
What have been some of the maybe unexpected benefits or side effects of having a podcast? It sounds like you started it because you were curious, you wanted a reason to have deeper conversations with people and learn from experts. Have there been other outcomes or results that have been beneficial that maybe you didn't expect in the beginning?
It's mind blowing to really listen to those people that have done incredible things. Like we mentioned, I mean, Don Norman, he's considered the godfather of user experience. Then Jay Sammet, I'm just name dropping. I don't know if people like that, but I mean, I'm just gonna do it anyhow because those people are worth to listening to and to follow them. Jay Sammet, who has been incredible in the field of digital media, is also considered the godfather of digital media. And to learn from them and to be able to share their perspective and how they approach life and how they approach business and as well. That's something that's been great. One thing, and also what gives me is to find my voice. The more
Mm,
podcasts I do, the more I talk with people, the more I can articulate what I think, uh, because people are listening and not just my head. So I really need to try to be more considerate of what I say.
mhm.
And just try to give me a structure of the things I say and not just jump around too much.
Yeah. One of the responsibilities that you're shouldering is you're a business owner. You're not just an industrial designer, you're a business owner. And why did you choose to go that route? You know, it's it creates a lot of complexity in your life. Why was that important to you?
Yeah, you mentioned complexity. I never thought about that. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, you yourself as a business owner, you know how it's not a smooth sailing and it gets rough and it takes its toll. But I think what it took me, I always wanted to be myself, a self owner or build something
Mhm.
bigger than myself or something that is more, put it that way. And also, sometimes I have problems with authority, which makes it easier to say, you know what, I'm going to try something my own.
Mm,
And I felt I worked in a design studio, in a design company. So we produce design products and artifacts. And I felt I can do more by myself than just be surrounded in a company who does just one thing. And they did great, but I felt there is more out there to just to be in that box. So,
I
but I think the main
totally get
question,
it.
the main thing was also to be very naive, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes sometimes that I mean, when you just first start creating your own business, we have no idea what we're actually getting into. So there's definitely some naivete involved in that
Yeah,
process.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think nobody would actually do a company if they knew what's in it. I mean,
Oh,
or they would consider it more. I think I would still do it. I would just have prepared it better. If there is a way to prepare it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's your experience on that. I mean, you have built something great and something huge, and you have coached a lot of people. So I don't know how they're doing it, but yeah, it's
I
it's
mean,
it's still
it
fun.
definitely takes a certain personality type, and you have to have experienced the pain of somebody else telling you what to do, and you're like, "I'm not doing that again." Right? And that
Right?
can then drive us to go do the things that are maybe not our most easy or comfortable for us, but it's a heck of a lot better than going back to being told what to do and what I can't do, right?
Right.
That's not okay with you and your personality. So,
Yeah, true.
um, so as an agency owner, and the bulk of your business and revenue would be from designing for other people, and yet, as a product designer myself, I know that you have lots of ideas beyond what people bring to you. Have you ever acted on some of those of your own ideas and then kind of gone through the process of
Yeah,
bringing that idea into reality?
yeah. Some are really bad. Some are even worse, and some are actually not that bad. So uh, one idea that I had is like there was a time I was just wearing whites the whole time, white t-shirts. And I was like, you know what? Let's make a subscription model of white t-shirts. So I built a website and I started thinking, okay, pictures, and let's start creating products and just a subscription model of just white t-shirts. Horrible idea. It didn't work out.
Hmm.
And then there was the beginning of 3D printed metal. And I love 3D printing metal and I love skulls. So I decided I'm going to do some cufflinks made
Hmm.
out of 3D printed metal. And some were great. And some I did also with silver, made out of silver and some rose gold. And I was actually able to sell those. So that was a product that was fun because we also created a brand around it. And I think it was good. It was really good, and
Hmm.
it comes with the heritage of me being half Mexican, half Swiss. So we have the precision part of the Swiss engineering, then we have the Mexican skulls
Mm.
and fun part of it, and they were high quality and 3D printed at that time.
Hmm.
So they were very luxurious. Also the price range, and people were buying it, and it was a great product. But then there was also this nagging thing that reframe is here, and not JR, the brand of the luxury brand. So I pivoted, stayed on the lane of reframe, and it just kind of fizzled away the JR.
Mm.
And also, what we did is in COVID time to 20, there was a lot of mask wearing, as we can remember, strange times. A lot of uh, painful ears because of you wearing the whole time the mask. So we made some little retainers to hold the mask behind your head, and they were
Hmm.
3D printed, so we can actually move very quickly and
Okay.
provide a lot of those retainers, mask retainers. And what it was great because that gave me a lot of publicity. I came out we came out in a couple books because of that, and I think two books, newspaper articles, and we could sell them, and it was great income stream. And I stopped because I didn't want to be a designer who does a lot of things just because of the sake of a crisis.
Mm.
And I'm sure it would have been more profitable, but it didn't feel right. But it was a great product because it leveraged us to a next step, especially because people didn't do anything. They just stopped. They didn't know what to do, and just we moved forward. And that two steps that gave us, or one step, looked like we were having 4 or 5 steps
Mm.
ahead. And also, what we did later on, it was time when people started to go more into the home office part. We also did a laptop stand, a simple
Okay.
laptop stand that you can actually just um, or just two pieces of wood,
Hmm.
perfect, beautifully carved and all that stuff. Then you can just put them together as an X and then just put your laptop on top of that. And if you don't need it, you can just take them apart and put it in your bookshelf. And also
I love it.
you were able to put your, what's it called? The keyboard on the back. So you could
Okay.
storage and everything very compact and very small. So we sold a couple of those as well. And those are products that have they've been doing good, and we stopped as well because I started to lose the focus on really what I want to build, and that's reframe.
Okay. And that kind of leads me to the last question that I have. Kind of, um, you talked about a North Star. What is your personal North Star, and how does that relate to the work that you're doing inside of Reframe?
I want to make experiences that are epic. I really want to make epic experiences with the products that I design, and really want to challenge companies and businesses to be able and to think more about the impact and the responsibility they have, because at the end everybody can win. And I think with my knowledge, I'm one part of the the experts, and I try to make them a symphony by me being the, what's it called?
Maestro,
The maestro, exactly.
conductor,
Exactly. The
conductor.
conductor. Let's put
Yeah.
a conductor,
Mhm.
exactly. By being
Yeah.
the conductor, I just try to put like, bring in experts so we can build something that's harmonious and it's more resourceful for our world. And not forget to have fun.
Hmm.
Like, seriously, like, not to take ourselves too serious, but to do the work we do very seriously. So yeah, I think it's more to have fun and be curious. I think that's one of the North Stars.
And make
And
something
being design
epic.
gives me that possibility to be curious.
Yeah, it does. Roberto, this is great. This is really refreshing to speak to another product designer, to hear the questions that you're asking and the unique perspective that you have. And I think the thing that really stood out to me is how important it is for you to have the work that you're doing be meaningful to you, to the end consumer, and then like really being able to zoom out and look at the manufacturing process, the materials that we're using, the waste that gets created, and how can we be really intentional on that whole process. And yes, solve the problem, help people to feel something, to experience something, and do something epic and fun. I
Right,
love
right, exactly. I think
I
that's what
love
it
it.
is. Let's make it epic and fun. I mean, I don't know if you can see this.
Let's do epic stuff. I don't swear,
Right,
but it says
exactly.
something else.
Exactly, stuff.
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome. I
So
love
yeah,
it. Yeah,
no,
I love
exactly.
it. And to your point, life
Thanks.
can get so serious and it doesn't have to be. And
No, exactly.
there's kind of this, I think, beautiful level where you take it serious enough, but you're at that level of play where you can kind of dance with life. And it looks like
Mhm.
that's where you're constantly looking to be for yourself, which
Yeah,
is awesome. And then it has you experiencing the joy, the epicness of life, which is
right.
beautiful. Yeah. Awesome.
Right,
So I also want to address the fact that you have a book.
right, exactly. So I had the chance to be a co-author with Joe Foster, is the founder of Reebok, and also this is
Okay.
something.
Oh, by the way, Katie,
But
I co-wrote a book with the founder of Reebok. Show me the book. What is it called?
it's How to Survive and Thrive, Change the World One Page at a Time. Joe Foster, founder of Reebok, brings together inspirational individuals who share their stories of triumph and tenacity. Triumph,
Mm.
triumph. So there are some individuals like Evander Holyfield in the book, Keith Chapman, who is also the, if you have kids, Paw Patrol. So he's he's the inventor of Paw Patrol. Yeah, and some really interesting people, and I'm part of that with Joe Foster, the founder of Freeburg, and he's also,
Okay.
that's why the brought me the podcast as well.
Okay. Okay. I mean, what are some give me one or two of exciting lessons that you learned as you worked on that book and interviewed these people?
Oh, it made me reflect on the failures, or what at that time looked
Haha.
failures,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I hate the word failures. I'm more the guys like learnings. So I just put
Yeah.
them back. Like failures, oh, never mind. It's just learning. Okay, so forward. But to really reflect on that, it's like, oh, okay, that was that was a mistake that I'm not gonna do again.
Mm.
Made me reflect on that. One part is exactly that, like the focus parts, like just focus on really what I want to learn and want to do, want to impact, and not just start chasing two, three, four rabbits, because there's no way I can do that.
How did you become the guy that the creator of Reebok wanted to write a book with? Did you propose this to him? Did you approach him? Did he
Yeah,
approach you?
they were looking for people, and I was like, what do I have to lose? And then I just wrote them, and then we had an interview, and then there was an interview process if I fit the frame they want to do, and I think the reframing part helped,
Mhm.
and my philosophy of reframing the way I look at things,
Mm.
and the rest is history, and it just came out couple of weeks ago. And
And say the name. Say the name of the book.
How to Survive and Thrive
Okay.
with
And it
Joe
has the
Foster.
stories of many people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Failures, even.
Oh, yeah. Many failures and also how they survive those. People that
Yeah.
have lost millions or hundreds of millions
Mm,
and just bounce back.
I love it.
So,
So good. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Roberto, the
well,
podcast is called Conversations with Roberto. You talk to incredible people like Don Norman, Jay Semet. Did I get that right?
right, exactly.
Yeah. And the agency is called Reframe Design.
Exactly. Reframe dot
Yeah.
design.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for today's conversation. This was
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah. And for everybody who's listening, this is what's working now. Before we end today's episode, I want to personally hop in here and share with you the purpose behind what's working now. And that is to identify truth and true principles that can help and support you in navigating your business and life. As a designer, those are some of the tools that I have used to both build my business, my family, and ultimately to build the life that I have. So I want to take a second and personally reflect back on this conversation that I just had with Roberto and maybe point out a few things and connect the dots. Part of why I wanted to have Roberto on the show is he comes from a slightly different background, and that is design. And what I think was very well demonstrated in today's conversation is Roberto is asking a unique set of questions. And more specifically, I want to point out how he is asking these questions. Oftentimes, when I meet a new CEO, founder, entrepreneur, they have an inner dialogue that is attaching meaning to things, very judgmental, and can even be really aggressive and bully like towards self. And I hope what you witnessed and saw today in Roberto is his tremendous curiosity. And what was missing in his questions was kind of blame, shame, judgment, and more. He's asking questions from this very neutral place of curiosity. You can ask the question why, or you can ask the question why from more of this like judgmental and shaming place. Why did I do that? Right? Versus, why why is my client requesting this? I wonder if there's more. And so what I want to take a second now and share and point out to you is what's working now is asking powerful questions from a neutral place of curiosity. And I think Roberto did a beautiful job of demonstrating to us what that looks like. It's very childlike in the sense that there isn't that attachment to judgment and shame and meaning. You guys know I'm a Christian and Jesus Christ is often inviting us to be like a little child. And if there's anybody in the world who's really developed in their curiosity, it's children. And unfortunately, a lot of times it kind of gets schooled out of us. And I think that was, part of my experience. I did fine in high school and college even. I did quite well. But it seemed sometimes like my curiosity wasn't wanted or welcomed. And I think this is why I have really loved and thrived in business is it has become a place where my questions, my curiosity is welcome and rewarded. So, what's working now is asking a new set of questions from a place of curiosity. And if you're feeling stuck and like you're running into obstacles and walls that are maybe invisible to you, I'm going to invite you to utilize your mind in a new way. and is to ask your mind questions without forcing answers, without asking these questions from a place of judgment and shame. Sometimes we can quote, ask questions, but it's really a statement. And so, like, why am I so stupid? Right? That's just a statement. So, I'm going to invite you to work on, practice, and develop this ability to ask questions from a neutral place that are rooted in curiosity. And what you will start to discover on the other side of that will open up your mind and your world. And that is what's working now. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the What's Working Now podcast. If you found today's episode to be interesting, be sure to share this with a friend. And if you are looking to level up your organization as a CEO, I'm going to invite you to join the Now newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter. I send it out on Fridays. I tell personal stories, talk about what it's like to build a significant business while raising a family, homeschooling kids. And I even share case studies, very timely, relevant situations where I go into detail how I am helping entrepreneurs navigate, lead, and build incredible organizations. You can get all of that behind the scenes information and more inside the Now newsletter. I've got a link to it right now in the show notes, and I will see you in the next episode.